Hey everyone, welcome back to Living Beyond the Invisible, A Walk with Heather, the podcast that sheds light on the realities of living with invisible disabilities. I'm your host, Heather, and today's episode is called Grieving Your Old Life, the Loss Nobody Sees. Welcome to Season 3 of the podcast. Tomorrow marks exactly 1 year since I started the podcast. The show itself is still really small, but my social media pages are taking off, and that makes my heart so happy. Advocating for those with invisible disabilities really feels like my calling. So if you are listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, thank you. I appreciate it so much. Now let's get started. Today, we're going to tackle grief, but not the kind of grief that happens when someone passes away. Not the kind people show up for, bring casseroles over for, or send flowers for. I'm talking about a different kind of grief. The grief of losing the life you used to have. The grief of losing the person you used to be. And doing it quietly, in the background, because no one else sees it. This is the kind of loss that has no funeral, no rituals, no timeline, and no visible markers. And for those of us living with invisible disabilities, it's a loss that happens slow, painfully, and silent, over and over again. So let me just say this plainly. If you've ever caught yourself missing who you used to be before your diagnosis, before the pain, before the fatigue, before your body or brain changed, you are not alone. I am right there with you. If you've ever looked in the mirror and thought, I don't recognize this version of me, or if you've ever laid in bed at night thinking about the person you used to be, the plans you used to have, the ease with which you used to live, you're grieving. And that grief is valid. I'm grieving, and that grief is valid. This kind of grief often shows up in the quietest moments. Maybe it's when you scroll through old photos and see yourself smiling at a family picnic or hiking a trail or laughing with friends at a dinner table you didn't have to cancel on. Maybe it's when you go to do something that used to be so easy, carrying laundry, walking your dog, holding your child, and suddenly it's not so easy. And it's in those moments that the loss hits you like a wave. You're not just struggling with the task, you're mourning the effortless version of your life that's now completely out of reach. Grief doesn't always come in tears. Sometimes it shows up in anger. Sometimes it's numbness. Sometimes it's a dull ache that you carry around like an old bruise. And other times, it's a full-on identity crisis. Who am I now that I can't do what I used to do? Who am I when the world doesn't see what I'm carrying? I think it's really important to say this very clearly for those who don't understand. Invisible disabilities don't just affect your health. They affect your identity, your relationships, your career, your dreams, your confidence. And they do it in ways that people can't see, and in ways most will never understand. The world tends to define people by what they can do, how much they can produce, how reliable they are, how physically able they are, how normal they look. And when an invisible disability changes how you move through the world, it's easy to start internalizing the idea that you're less than, that you're somehow failing, that you're not living up to who you used to be. But here's the truth. You are adapting. you are surviving. You are enduring something that most people never even think about. And the fact that you miss your old self doesn't mean you're stuck. It means you're human. The first step in healing this kind of grief is acknowledging that it exists. That took me a long time to do. And a lot of people never end up acknowledging that. We push it down. We tell ourselves other people have it worse, or I should be grateful it's not terminal, or I don't have time to feel sorry for myself. But grief isn't about self-pity. It's about honoring what you've lost so you can learn how to live with what remains. It's okay to say, I miss who I was. That doesn't mean you don't appreciate who you are now. That doesn't mean you've given up. It means you're grieving something real, a life that changed in ways you never asked for nor wanted. And for many of us, this grief doesn't happen all at once. It builds over time. There's the grief of the diagnosis, the grief of realizing that this isn't going away, the grief of losing our spontaneity, because now everything has to be planned around your symptoms. The grief of missing out, canceling plans, watching life happen without you, sometimes it adds up. You might find yourself grieving every time you hit a new limitation. The first time you need a mobility aid, the first time you can't work a full day, the first time you realize your body just won't bounce back like it used to. Every one of those moments is a little funeral, and the people around you often, they don't notice. That is one of the hardest parts of invisible illness or invisible disabilities. The world keeps turning. People expect you to be okay, to smile, to show up, to keep performing at the level you're used to, even if your body is barely hanging on. And now you start performing wellness. You put on a brave mask. You mask your symptoms. You laugh it off. You say, I'm fine, even when you're falling apart inside. But there's a cost to that. The more we hide our struggle, the more isolated we feel, and the more invisible our pain becomes. So let's take a moment to stop hiding. Let's name it. You are grieving. You are. You are grieving the version of yourself that didn't have to think about taking medications or flares or accommodations. You're grieving the version of yourself that could stay out late or work overtime or just wake up without calculating how much energy you have to ration for that day. You're grieving the version of yourself that felt confident in your own body, that didn't feel betrayed by your own mind or muscles or nervous system. And yes, you're also grieving how others treat you now. Maybe you've lost friends who couldn't quite understand what you're going through. Maybe family members pull away because they don't know how to respond. Maybe your romantic relationship shifted because of the changes in your health. My friends, that's grief too, whether you realize it or not. Invisible disabilities often create invisible distance. People don't know how to support what they can't see, and that leaves you feeling even more alone in your loss. So, what do we do with this grief? How do we handle it? Well, for starters, we have to honor it. We have to talk about it. We give it space. We stop pretending that it's not there. Grief doesn't need to be solved. It needs to be witnessed. And that's what I'm doing right now. I see your grief. I've felt it myself. And I want you to know that it matters. Your loss is real, even if no one else understands it. And just like any grief, this one isn't linear. It, there will be days when you feel mostly okay, when you laugh, when you feel peace. And there will be days when the sadness hits you out of nowhere. When you see someone jogging down the street or hiking a trail or just doing something effortlessly that used to be second nature to you. That's not weakness. That's memory. That's mourning. But here's the part I want to leave you with today. You are still you. You are still worthy. You are still whole, even in the middle of the loss. The old you mattered, and so does this new you, even if she moves slower, even if she rests more, even if she cries more, even if she's still just trying to figure it all out. This grief may walk beside you for a long time, but it doesn't get to define you. It's part of your story, not the end of it. You can still build a meaningful life. You can still connect deeply with others. You can still find joy, and you can still be proud of who you are becoming, not in spite of your grief, but alongside it. Thank you for walking with me today. If no one else has told you lately, I see you, I believe you, and you're not alone. If you want to connect beyond the podcast, you can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, all at Living Beyond the Invisible, A Walk with Heather, where I will share more about living with invisible disabilities myself. I will share encouragement and real life behind the scenes. And if this show has helped you and you'd like to support what I'm doing, you can find me on Patreon as well. All of those links will be in the show notes. We'll keep walking through this season together, one single step at a time. Take care of yourself. I'll see you next Tuesday.